Hi everyone, Helen Blunden here. Hope you're happy, healthy and well. It's time for a new book review today where I share some life lessons out of books that I have been reading. And today I'd like to talk about this new book that is currently out in good bookstores. It is called Perfection by Vincenzo Latronico. With a name like that, you can guess that he's Italian. It is his debut novel in English. This one was translated into English by Sophie Hughes. It is a fairly recent novel and it is one that really intrigued and piqued my interest when I read about it in one of the newsletters that one of the local bookstores provides. It is about a young expat couple called Anna and Tom. They're living their dream life in Berlin. They're young, they're the cool digital creatives. They enjoy slow cooking, Danish furniture, progressive politics, sexual experimentation, and they love Berlin's 24-hour scene. And it's exactly the life that they had imagined for themselves. But this book takes on a period of over some years, their 20s, 30s, 40s, and we see a morph of the scene and we see a morph of their lives as well, where they become discontent and somewhat isolate themselves from their peers who have simply moved on to go back to their countries of origin. Now, Tom and Anna come from a country in Southern Europe. We don't know which country that is from, but they migrate to Berlin and become the expat community there. And over time, over years of doing the same thing, they start to change and decide that they need a different scene, and they go to Portugal where the whole cycle is repeated again. When reading this book, and I did read it all in the one sitting, it intrigued me. It made me want to read on. I couldn't put it down. I guess the reason that is the case is simply because I saw myself in it, and I definitely saw a lot of my friends and peers who were also going through the same thing in their younger years. But it made me think that nothing really changes just because this isn't a millennial couple. The situation that they go through is pretty much an evolution of life that we go through the ages. In our 20s, we're always seeking out new experiences, new friendships, new environments, things to expand our boundaries and to rethink and blast the things that we were, I guess, told from our parents and how we grew up. In our 30s, we start to mature. Many of us marry. Some take on mortgages. We become serious or are looking for more stable and secure life, more stable and secure work as well. And so our priorities change, which then also morph into the 40s. So this book really made me think that despite Anna and Tom, a young millennial couple who pretty much isolate themselves from their peer groups because they still maintain that level of thinking in their 20s, it made me think that nothing really changes. Regardless of what generation you are, you could still see yourself in elements, especially as part of the ages that this young couple go through. Having a look at some of the other reviews online about this book, there were some people who hated this book and hated Anna and Tom, and there's some people who loved this book. And I would count myself as one of the people who loved this book. I guess if I think about why I loved it, it is because it gives us a reflection of everyday life and we start to see ourselves. It's written in the sense of an omniscient narrator. What that means, it's written in a third person, and it's as if someone is looking at Anna and Paul together as a couple. They're never separated in any way, but Anna and Paul is the one unit. And this narrator is looking at them and offering wry comments and some cynical remarks about their life. When I come to think about the type of perspective that it is written, there's not many books written in that omniscient narrator style. Jane Austen did it really well, but her style was that her narrator, you could guess that it was similar to Jane Austen or was similar to one of her characters. This narrator seems to have and all-knowing, a very cynical view, and he's definitely not aligned with Anna and Tom's thinking. So he comes across as lecturing. It's considered humorous, but I had to really think whether it's not really humorous, it's wry, it's dry, it's cynical. I have to admit, as a Gen X and growing up with baby boomer parents, nothing we did as a Gen X to baby boomer parents was right in their minds. Let's just say it comes across like that. And reading it like that, to me, as a Gen Xer, I didn't care. It was amusing in that sense because it just kind of reminded me of the different baby boomer generations. Now, this is a generalization that I'm saying, but it was just the kind of feeling that I got. And I know some reviewers out there didn't like the tone of that book, but I'd say it's not overwhelming. It's not overpowering. It's actually quite distinct observation of a couple who we can understand and see ourselves in. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not on social media. I was on social media and I spent a whole heap of my life on social media. 3 years down the track of not having it, I am so thankful I got off it. I've spent a lot of my time curating different posts, different viewpoints and different perspectives. It's so nice not to have to do that anymore, to the point that I don't really want people to know much about my life anymore. I don't have to show people the ins and outs of my life. It's irrelevant. But I can understand the need for a young couple to be able to curate different pieces and different aspects of their life and then show it online, but at the same time also view other social media posts from their peers and feel disconnected in some way and feel inadequate and feel isolated, that they're not also living their best life. So my first lesson was the danger of social media. You don't always have to put everything on social media because social media leaves us wanting. And social media shows us curated perspectives of other people and their lives out there that may or may not necessarily be true. By looking at how others live their life or how they show that they live their life, you come across as wanting or inadequate in some way. And I really felt for Anna and Tom in this sense because they were equating themselves as to what their peers were doing and were also doing the same by showing their lives. In actual fact, they were living, I would say, an empty life because they were simply not attaching themselves to more meaningful and more profound instances and experiences that is just normal. So let me explain that. The second life lesson I got is that Anna and Tom in this book were seeking a life of perfection. You already realize there is no such thing as a perfect life, despite what social media shows you. A lot of the things that they went through in their lives in their 20s, 30s, and 40s are something that we all go through. And we are all Anna and Toms in some way. But we evolve through the ages, and it felt that Anna and Tom in here hadn't evolved from their 20s or their thinking from their 20s. But I felt in this book that Anna and Tom were perpetually thinking and being like they were in their 20s. And as they were aging, not having the typical ties and the typical associations that people in their 30s and 40s have, they were reliving their 20s and feeling disconnected and isolated in some way. And they were forever chasing, I would say this word, they were forever chasing those same experiences and feelings because they would see that the whole world around them had gentrified, had changed, had evolved, and it wasn't like those exciting early days in Berlin, hipster-like opportunities and environments that they had seen. People had grown over time. It's kind of like we're growing as well. We're seeing that evolution of society with them. And in some way also, we are becoming nostalgic of the past as well. So the third life lesson is all about nostalgia. Although they are nostalgic about a time past, it is something that we also understand. I don't know about you, but I'm also quite nostalgic for my early days as well. But I know that I can never return to those days. Life has changed. Society has changed. The thinking and the perspectives of the people around us have changed. The governments have changed. There is no going back. We can't go back. And if you want to read a really good book about this concept of nostalgia and how people want to return to the period of time in their lives, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, that they thought it was a better time for them, I would highly recommend The Time Shelter, which is a review I also did on this book on this channel. Go and read that because the feelings of nostalgia also come through in this book. The fourth life lesson for me was really make peace with yourself. Yes, we all go through different viewpoints and perspectives in our 20s, our 30s and 40s and 50s. And I'm seeing a different perspective here in my 50s now. And I know I'll have a different one in my 60s as well. But I'm looking forward to that. And I know that my life will never go back to what it was. I know that I will probably not have the friends who I've had in the past. I know that I will lament the different social aspects I've had with friends. But you know what? That's life. That is life. I know work changes over time. It's something that we have to commit to and grow with, accept, learn from, evolve ourselves, and find new meaning in our lives. And it's just unfortunate that Anna and Tom were unable to do this and were forever chasing a new place, a new type of work. And you got tired for them. You're really tired. I was reading this book and I was saying, Anna and Tom, please look at your life. Turn off the socials. Look at what you have in your life. Good job. You've got a great apartment. You live in a good town. You quite enjoy your city. Start to accept and understand that there are certain things that don't change in this world. And those things that are your commitment to country, your culture, your traditions, your language, connections to family, connections to friends, connections to even religion, if that is you. For me, I found that I really felt for Anna and Tom because they didn't see the things that are so important in our lives that ground us as individuals and that give us profound meaning is not what is on the socials. A really, really interesting book and I loved it, and I am definitely thinking of using this book for my book club and having it as one that we're going to read and discuss because it is a book that you can pick to pieces. It is a book that is a quite current theme, a relevant topical theme, and it is a book that is written in a different style. So you might have your own views about that. I would highly recommend this book, Vincenzo Latronico's Perfection. It was perfection. Okay, that was a bit corny. All right, thanks for listening. Bye for now.